Ryan Ermanni, Tom Mazaway here. Braylon is out on the course along with D-Mac. Tom Izzo is out there as well, I believe. But, hey, let's change things up here and talk a little Detroit Lions.
You bet.
With the Dean.
The man.
The myth.
The legend.
He is the great Mike O'Hara, DetroitLions.com. How you doing, Mike?
Look.
Well, I'm doing fine, guys, but I want everybody to know that you guys bestowed all those nice things on me. I didn't say them. Now, they're all true, of course.
We know that, Mo. We know that.
But I didn't say any of that stuff, okay? I just, sat there and said, you missed 5 or 6, but go ahead.
All right.
Hey, Mike, let me just start with this. Just a pretty generic question to open it up with you. Is through 1 week of training camp, anything jump out at you? What have you seen through 1 week with the Detroit Lions?
Well, I don't think anything jumped out because, we watched the off-season program, too, and some things happened in there that, kind of get carried over to training camp. But if I just want to wrap it up, number one to me is the offensive line is healthy. And, we made a big deal about this, and those guys have even kind of commented on it and kind of laughed about it a little bit. But in the last 2 years, they have not had 1 minute of the supposed starting 5 together. Well, they're starting 5 and 2 or 3 of their really good backups are healthy and have participated in all 5 of the 6 or 7 practices they've had, with the exception of today. Penny Sewell had a minor concussion, if there is such a thing as minor concussion,
right,
and didn't practice. But he's fine. It's nothing big. But you see the offensive line out there healthy, to me is that's the bedrock of this team right now, in my opinion.
That's fantastic news. And just to reiterate that, you're saying Penei Sewell, nothing really to worry about moving forward here. You think he'll get back pretty soon?
Yeah, they said that he'd miss 1 or 2 days. I think 1 or 2 more days. I think Dan Campbell said it was Sunday. But we'll see. You never know. I've seen things linger and linger and linger and linger. I don't think that's the case with Penei Sewell, though. And you certainly wouldn't hope it, because this is one of the top 3 or 4 players at his position in the National Football League. If you want to start rating people that way, he would be maybe one of the 3, 4th at the worst, which is not bad, but probably 2nd or 3rd best starting right tackle, and maybe the best.
Hey, Mike, one of the things that I see when I look at this team is how many resources they poured into the defense, whether it's Cam Sutton, whether it's Emmanuel Mosley, who's not practicing, or Brian Branch or Jack Campbell,
Gardner Johnson.
Yeah, just to name a few. How is that defense coming together through 1 week of camp?
Well, Emmanuel Mosley was out today, and I don't know how I didn't really focus on him. I don't know if he went through the whole thing or not, but it looks like he's back and going to be okay. And so that gives them 3 guys. That's 3 free agents they signed to bolster the back end there, and good players too. Really good players. With C.J. Johnson, Gardner Johnson, and Cam Sutton that you already mentioned, and then Mosley, and then Brian Brandt, who I did a column on today for DetroitLions.com. I tell you what, I think he was underdrafted at the 47th or 48th in the second round. This is really a good football player. It really is. I think he made All-American on somebody's All-American team on 3 different. He made it as a safety, he made it as a cornerback, and he made it as a nickelback. And I mentioned that to him yesterday, and he just kind of laughed about it because he's really not in it for the trophies. He's in it for playing football and winning games. But that secondary is so much different, which is one thing, and so much better, which is a lot more than it was at the close of business, if you want to put it that way, last year. It's really, really good.
Hey, Mo, he won me over when he was the only guy left in the second round, and he stayed in Kansas City when he heard his name called so he can come out on that stage, shake Roger Goodell's hand, give him a hug. He wanted that moment. And even though he didn't get picked in the first round, like guys like the quarterback from Kentucky, Will Levis, he was embarrassed. He went home.
Yeah.
And this kid stayed, man. I told Kathy, we were watching, my wife, we're watching the draft. I'm like, oh, my God, this kid. I fell in love with him at that point, and the more I hear about him, the better in love I am with him.
Yeah, this is really a good football player. And Dan Campbell was talking about him yesterday, which was fortunate for me because I was going to write about him, and I'm glad he did. But one of the things he said about him is, I'm not kidding about opportunities to write guys. I need all the help I can get.
He did your homework for you. That's good, man, Mo.
Absolutely. Well, that's what he's here for, isn't it?
That's right.
But he was talking about him and just how smart he is. And it was a couple days before that he, in the one-on-ones, he was paired with Khalif Raymond. Khalif Raymond is really a good player and fast. I mean, super fast. He's not the fastest player in the National Football League, but he's in the top maybe 30 or 40. He can really, really run it. And he shut him down. I came back the next day and Khalif got him, but Dan Campbell's point was he was not out of place out there. He was a guy playing ball. And I think that's a really good signing, a really good acquisition, however we got him.
Talking to Mike O'Hara, DetroitLions.com. Mike, how many, speaking of Brian Branch or Sam Laporta, Jack Campbell, Jahmyr Gibbs, this rookie class, how many of these guys, over under 4, really, would you anticipate to start out there on Thursday night at Kansas City?
Well, let's start with the defensive backfield, okay? I think, and with Brian Branch, it's a matchup thing, and it depends on what Kansas City Chiefs line up in. There might be some formations that I suppose they came out with, a 12 offense, with 2 tight ends. You probably wouldn't have the 5th defensive back on the field. So that would have nothing to do with ability. It would just have to do with the matchup at the moment. But as opposed to starting, I would say play quality time, quality minutes. Yep. I'd say all of them.
Nice.
Yeah. All of them. Yeah. All of them. Now, and quality minutes could be 10 plays on goal to go or something like that. But a goal to go or goal to stop and a goal to go too. So I think they've, for 3 straight weeks now, they've got players who can play in the National Football League at a high level. Everybody seems to use that expression now, high level. And I'll use it there what everybody else is using.
Hey, man, one of my favorite acquisitions, and I've been begging the Lions to take this guy, and they finally listened to me, was C.J. Gardner-Johnson, a guy that I just love. I just love his attitude. I think he brings that swagger to a defense. And for him, when he got hurt on the opening day of practice, my heart sunk, and thank God that he was okay. The football God shined down on the Lions for once and gave us a guy that comes back. How important is his position with a Brian Branch, learning from him?
Well, it's really important, and the important thing is that they have him. I didn't see it because I was at the other end of the field, but when word traveled, in a matter of like 15 seconds, and the way he was reacting to it, you thought, look, he's out for the year. And Dan Miller came over and said, "Can this team ever get a break?" Well, they got a break, as it turned out, and the first thing I thought of when he got hurt. I don't know if everybody remembers this, but the Lions had a 2nd-round draft pick, a running back, Mikel Lacheur.
Of course.
Oh yeah.
And remember 2012? There's a kid who was just a productive player in college. Had never had a fumble. He could block, he could run, he could catch. And I think it was the 2nd play of the first day of training camp that an Achilles injury, just really a non-contact injury. I think made just a light contact with the defensive player, done for the year. Came back the next year and he was okay. He was never what they thought they were getting and were getting before the injury. But that's the first thing I thought of was Lacheur when CJ went down, and you could tell by the end of the day. By the next morning, you could tell that things weren't as bad as they thought. And the next day you see him out jogging. The next day you see him out running in full out, and then they see him on the field playing a regular turn. So, you know what? Score 1 for the Detroit Lions, finally.
Amen.
Hey, Mike, one of the guys I think that's getting a lot of, conversation about, a lot of people talking about, Jameson Williams. This is a huge camp for him. He's going to miss the first 6 games of the season. We all know that. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, extremely positive about his ability out there. What is the talk within the organization, within the team, about JMO's progress?
It's probably different than us in the media and the fans and all that. He's really taken out some hits for things that, to me, are absolutely meaningless in terms of football. For example, on 4th of July or 4th of July weekend or whatever, he lit fireworks crackers.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. What? That was ridiculous. So what? I agree.
I mean, okay. I like a bad story as much as anybody else. when you're looking for something to write. At least in the old days, but you would have thought he committed some crime. You know,
Yep.
I mean, come on, what did he do wrong? And
Nothing.
the gambling thing, I don't like it. I think you should know the rules and all that. He didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
He did something that millions of people are doing. And, you know, okay, now he knows the rules for sure. I mean, he should have known them before. Now he knows them for sure. I don't think it'll ever happen to him again. But I'll tell you one thing. Just watching him, he didn't practice most of last week. He had some sort of minor injury, but watching him run just repeat 100-yard dashes, or whatever you want to call them, 50-yard dashes. Man, he can run. I mean, it is fun watching him. He just glides. He really does. You know, Tim Twentyman, my writing partner on DetroitLions.com, who does really 95% of the work. That's why I like to call him partner. As we were leaving today, he said he's like a gazelle. He just floats, and he's at a very, very high speed. Now, doesn't have quite the same smoothness and all that as in receiving. I think you're going to have to live with some drops and, you know, maybe some juggles and things like that. But he is a legitimate, genuine deep threat. He's also a deep threat as a short threat. Catch it short and go the distance. Yep. So I think we'll see, though. Look, here's the amazing thing to me when you think about it. We've had all this talk about him. He's got one catch as a National Football League player. Right. One catch for a touchdown. And we examine him day after catch after catch, play after play, like he's a 10-year veteran. You know what? I think it's time, myself included, let the kid breathe, let him play football, let him practice, get him out there on the field. We'll see how he is. I think he's going to be pretty good.
Mike, let me ask you about the guy opposite him, and that's Amon-Ra St. Brown. This guy seems like everything and anything you could ever want: talent, the will to win, the will to be great. I mean,
good person.
What's stopping this guy from being a top 6, top 8 receiver in this league?
Well, what's stopping him and I'm assuming he will be stopped. What's stopping him there's another 10 or 12 guys in the National Football League are great talents. They really are. And so you can be a tremendous football player and play 10 years and maybe make the Pro Bowl twice and still have like a Hall of Fame career or Hall of Fame statistical career anyway. And I think he falls into that category with, I mean, what's he had, like 200 catches in 2 years, something like that combined. And to me, his body of work, you add it up, it is really, really good. But does he have the one highlight catch that you play over and over? You know, not really. And a lot of that, you know, and I think, you know, an 8-yard catch, a 10-yard catch, a 12-yard catch can be as important. It can be as important to the game, as important to a drive, a possession, as the 50-yard, tumbling, catch on the sideline. So I think we may judge him a little differently as a group because just the style of play he has and the offense he's in. I mean, he's in a great offense, and somebody's got to play the role he plays, and he's really good at it. And I think he's going to keep piling up catches and piling up yards. I don't know how many touchdowns he's going to pile up because that position traditionally and usually doesn't get you in the end zone a lot, but he's a tremendous football player.
Mo, I wanted to ask you about the guy that's running the offense, and that's Jared Goff. And what's your take on him? I hear nothing but great things about how he's looking, his confidence, and what do you see Jared Goff doing? Do you see him even being better than last year?
Oh, absolutely. I think somebody said, I don't know if it was on this show or another show. And
probably
Dan
this show.
Campbell's. Are you guys on every day? Next to that hamburger stand, I ought to be there more often.
Come on now, come on, Mo.
Okay, this qualifies it nice. One thing about him is he's when they signed that but made a trade for the wide receiver Denzel Mims.
Yep.
First guy to call him was Jared Goff. Talked on the phone for 20, 30 minutes, and Denzel was giving us the rundown on that, and they talked about being in Detroit, the offense, the defense, what to do, and all that. I thought that's not just a gesture. That's when you do things like that, it's something real. And look, Denzel Mims, he feels it, and it trickles down to the guys in the wide receiver room and the offensive linemen and the guys in defense know, hey, look, this guy cares about our players, he cares about our team, and he cares about winning. So I think his first season to me was kind of a wash. I think it was for everybody. They were just sort of getting the pilings, on building a football team with Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, what they brought to Detroit and how they wanted to massage it and work it and all that. And I think you're seeing now that he's more of himself. He's more of what you really want to see in a quarterback. I will tell you this: watching him drop back and throw the ball, he can really rip the ball. Okay, I mean, sideline to sideline, he's really got not just a touch thrower, but he's a guy who's got put some speed on the ball and he gets rid of it in a hurry.
Hey, speaking of Denzel Mims, you brought him to our attention. What have you seen from him? I know it's only been here for a week, but do you see him as a kid that can make this team?
I think he's got a chance. Look, when a guy's been with a team for 3 years and he gets traded away as a second-round pick, it happens for a reason, okay? Right. And so, but he got drafted for a reason too, and then the second round, I think 58th overall or something like that, somewhere in the 50s. But he's got some size. He's just looking at him. He's built. He looks the part. 6'3", 207, sub 4'4", 40. But National Football League's different now. There are a lot of big, tall, fairly big and fairly tall guys who can run pretty fast. And he's got to. If you're gonna make it in the league, you've got to separate yourself from what the other guys can do. You got to do it better than they do. I think he's got a chance. I think the Lions have an opening for another wide receiver there, and I think he's certainly has a chance to fill that slot. We'll see, though. Other guys are competing for it too.
Hey, Mike, last question. I went back. I'm doing a look back for Fox about the 1991 team, and I was having some fun going through those videos today, just about some similarities.
Love that team.
Between this is look. We haven't had a team like this here in Detroit since probably 91, if we're honest. And just that anticipation, everything feels like it's in line here. What do you remember about that 91 team? I mean, obviously, the Utley injury, but, outside of that, what do you have one or two memories about covering that 91 team that was so great and the greatest Lions team in the Super Bowl era?
Well, I think you're right about that. The greatest team. I think what people, who really haven't studied it, don't seem to realize is the depth of talent they had on that team. I'm talking about all pros, not just Pro Bowl players, but all pro players.
Five all
team.
Pros, Mike. All pros.
Barry and Herman and some other guys.
Mel Gray, Jerry Ball,
Chris Spielman.
Spielman.
I think you're shortchanging them at 5, by the way. The one area where they weren't strong was look, here we go again, quarterback.
Yep.
They had basically a backup quarterback plan, and they got through it okay. If you go back and look at the stats and all that, they were really nothing special, but they had a good team that was able to protect them and make some plays. But that was really if you put a quarter, Wayne Fonts said this a couple of times in talking to him about after he was out of football for a number of years. He said if we had Matt Stafford as our quarterback, we'd have won 2 or 3 Super Bowls. I don't know about that, but they would have won a couple. Okay, that team was just rich in talent. It lacked the one area where you win Super Bowls. But it was a good team. You're talking about Herman Moore and right down. Herman Moore set receiving records that stood. I'm not talking about Lions team records, but National Football League records that stood for years. It really did. And to me, I think he's probably the most underappreciated Detroit Lion of all time, in my opinion.
I'm with you, man.
And I'm not saying he's was better than Calvin. If you make that, honestly, there's nothing I could say to back it up that he is. But I think it's closer than a lot of people think. But that was a team that had talent. Just to carry it forward a little bit, the team the 1994 team, I think it was, maybe it was 95, I forget now, it's off the top of my head, had 14 players on that team, on that roster, that were drafted by the Detroit Lions. 14.
No kidding.
That's homegrown talent. Now,
right.
This is before free agency had really sunk in and all that. You're able to keep your players longer. But 14
wow.
14 draft picks.
Incredible stuff. Mike, we can't thank you enough for this time, and hope to do it again soon. Could talk ball with you all day long.
All day, Mo, all day.
And I'll keep talking to you if you want to stay.
I tell you what. Here's the thing: if you get rid of Tommy, I'll talk to him.
Oh, come on.
Hey, I'll buy you some of those Hunter. We'll get you in studio maybe one of these days. I'll bring the Hunter house. How about that?
Oh, yeah.
Good
I'll
stuff.
take the bus.
All right. Thanks, Mike O'Hara. Check out Mike O'Hara, DetroitLions.com. Read his stuff there. See the videos. And as he says, Tim Twentyman does 90% of the
That's great. I love it.
95.
95% of
Don't
the
short
work.
change my man, okay? Come on.
Oh,
We
man.
don't.
Great stuff. It's going to be a great year, we believe, for the Detroit Lions. Mike O'Hara, everybody. Check him out. Thanks so much, Mike.
All right, guys. Thanks, Tommy.
See you,
You
Mo.
got it. We're going to take a break, guys. When we come back, more Lions talk live from Oakland Hills, historic Oakland Hills. We'll be right back.